What's up, squad? This is Brandon from the Bantu Sun. Thank you so much for joining me today. Of course, I had to chime in and give my thoughts on the recent fire that happened in the Nottoway Plantation home. So, for those that know, Nottoway Plantation was a home owned by famous plantation slave owner John Hampton Randolph. He was a famed cotton planter, and I believe the mansion was used for planted for cotton and sugar subsequently as well. But of course, he passed, and like so many of these mansions, it goes to the family. But they're kind of this gargantuan behemoth of a money pit, especially with the end of slavery and the competition of cotton. It became unprofitable, and over time, it shifted hands to people buying and selling. And most recently, it was used as a resort. And the reason why I thought it was so important to chime in on this is because I'm seeing so many people that look like me coming out in celebration thinking this is a win. And I thought that was odd because is it really? Is it really? Being that I always am in geopolitics and I'm constantly looking at the actual economic development of nations, what makes some countries rich and some people poor, one thing that I've noticed is that a destructive mindset isn't necessarily conducive to or congruent with the building mindset. I'll give you two examples. Sir Stanford Raffles in Singapore. When Singapore got its independence from the British Empire, the famed leader Lee Kuan Yew and his advisors discussed tearing down these statues. And you know what they did? Based on counsel, they decided not to. They decided not to erase the memory of the British legacy within Singapore, and they utilized it. They embraced it. One of their famous hotels is named after is the Raffles. So they embraced this legacy of British history, and this gave a sign of not only stability but a deliberate and intentional mindset to develop the country, not to destroy parts of the country. They embraced their history and the lessons it taught them on the good side and on the bad side. They embraced this. Look at Ghana and the slave castles. Many slaves had left out of Africa, places such as the Congo, Angola, Mozambique, Nigeria. But how did Ghana, a country more known for its gold, the Gold Coast, corner the concept of the return home? This is what they did when they took the slave castles that they have and utilized them as tourist destinations. And the same thing I think about when I think about this plantation. What happened on this plantation is absolutely horrendous thing. Horrendous. I've read numbers as high as uh, John John Randolph owned as many as 200 slaves at a point in time on these plantations. And the torture that happened on this plantation is absolutely heartbreaking. Nevertheless, it is part of Louisiana history. It is in the soil. The blood, tears, the memories, even the smiles and celebrations, the sweat are all in the soil to this day of that plantation. And that plantation represents a painful but very real past of Louisiana. And not only that, but it speaks uniquely to the Louisiana character. Louisiana is a very interesting state to me. It drastically underperformed. I think it's a state with so much potential and so much to offer America and the world in general. And it constantly is a poor performer. So when I see something that Louisiana has that is unique, that is distinct, something that will make people travel the world to come see, is damaged by this fire that has drastically destroyed this property. You got to I think about this is taken from Louisiana. It is taking a part of its history away. And of course it's being used as a resort now. But I also see it as an opportunity to employ locals. Louisiana has one of the highest percentage of African Americans within its states. Around 33%, about one out of every three citizens of Louisiana is an African American. When you talk about Louisiana economy, you're talking about an African American economy as well. Now look where Louisiana rank in terms of education, literacy, life expectancy, income. Louisiana is not a state that can afford to be burned on its legacy. And that's what makes it so frustrating. When you see countries that actually advance, develop, when you look at a Singapore, they're not in a rush to destroy what they have. It's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. And what I saw with this plantation home was something that was unique to the character, history, legacy, and possibly the future of Louisiana. And some people don't like the idea that it was a resort, but that resort offers jobs to the locals. And those locals had the opportunity, which is what all you're going to get in this life, is opportunity if you're lucky. Nobody owes you anything. You are entitled to nothing from someone else. And the better anybody recognizes this, the faster anybody recognizes this, the faster they will realize what their true assets are, what they should truly seek to go after. And it's not some type of social justice. What it is an opportunity to get your foot in the door, because you can get hired here and you can learn the plantation ground. Once you learn the plantation ground, you can leverage your experience and be the owner of the grounds. Once you leverage the ownership of the ground, possibly you can pool money together and actually buy the grounds. And then if you can then have this ground as a museum if you so fit. Or, like I said, providing opportunities to locals in the area. What's stopping the people that work here pulling 10% every paycheck, buying a portion of the plantation grounds, and seeking through partnerships with the local government, state government, and federal government to build a museum on the ground. So you can have a resort there as well as a museum to reflect on the legacy of what this house represents. It doesn't have to be an either or. This is America. The more opportunities and options you provide, the better off everybody will be. But you have to partner accordingly. And now, in the destruction of this, I always ask, who, of all the people that are praising the destruction of this home, of all the people praising the destruction of this home, how many of those people are providing jobs in Louisiana? So Louisiana needs to take those opportunities which are made readily available to them and capitalize on them. But I understand this mindset isn't taught. As Lee Kuan Yew, the leader of Singapore, always talked about democracy being a higher level form of social of a social integration. I don't necessarily believe that. I believe Asian or East Asian culture was different, and maybe democracy is more unique to a Western mindset. Fair enough. And I think the same thing about commerce. People think that because this plantation existed and bad thing happened on this plantation existed, that nothing good can come from this plantation. But I will argue, because this plantation existed and people have suffered, who better to benefit than the descendants of the people who have suffered? The people that still live within Louisiana, the people who fulfill these job roles. And as I said, once they get the opportunity, because this is how other groups move up when they are minorities in other countries. Once you get the opportunity, you can leverage this opportunity to develop your skill set. And once you develop your skill set, you can negotiate a higher pay. And from that higher pay, you can get disposable income and invest. And now you're talking ownership. That's how the game works. This plantation is burnt. It's not hosting anything now. It's people that's going to wake up in the morning and don't have a job to go to. Those people still got to eat. That's the unfortunate part. It's a tragedy on tragedy. So when I see people celebrate the destruction of something, I always look to see what they're providing. They're so eager to destroy something, but what have they built? And economic development is a builder's mindset, and we should all be cognizant of this. But it's an unfortunate story all around. I do hope they develop the grounds. I do hope they bring it to prominence. I do hope that it provides jobs, opportunities to the locals. And I hope that those locals are able to capitalize on those opportunities and move up the social and economic ladder within Louisiana to invest there or in other states, whatever their heart desires. But nevertheless, destruction of something, when people see that, it invites nothing but bitterness and antagonism. Turning away people, it's obnoxious. And some people don't see it, but I would argue the people that don't see it, what are they really building? What are they creating for themselves or the people of Louisiana? So those are my thoughts. I love to hear yours. Comment below if you have any. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content. Until next time, take care. Bantu up.